Mason was on his knees before me, his dark, wolf-like eyes locked onto mine from below. Cold, unyielding, there was no mistaking it. Pure defiance in them. I tapped my index finger, deliberately flicking ash onto the gleaming tip of his polished leather shoe. I stepped closer, grabbed the back of his head, and pressed our noses together. Stole something and won't even own up. Ha! Then, my mind suddenly jolted. Flashes of images tore through me. I wasn't the villain from some over-the-top romance novel. No, I was the cruel older brother who'd tormented the protagonist since childhood, screaming at him daily that he was a bastard. And now I realized. The real bastard was me all along. Back then, my mom slept with the bodyguard to get back at my dad for cheating. Ended up pregnant by accident. By the time I found out, Mason was already running the Gu family empire. "Big bro," he said, voice quiet but razor sharp. "You promised. Bastards don't get to stay in the Gu family as heirs." The thought hit me so hard I jerked my hand, yanking out several of Mason's hairs. He grunted, eyes blazing with even more venom as he stared at me. Panic flared, quick thinking kicked in. I twitched my nose, leaned in slightly, and whispered, "Little bro, you're kinda really nice smelling. What brand of facial cleanser are you using?" The air went dead silent. Second brother Samuel let out a squirrel-like squeal. "Bro, did you just break into a book or finally wake up? He stole my stuff. What the hell are you even talking about?" If it weren't for that familiar, utterly clueless look in his eyes, I'd swear I'd just met an ally. I let go of Mason and forced a calm tone. "That pendant was originally Mason's mom's heirloom. He's just taking it back, returning something to its rightful owner." "How is that stealing? You're the one who grabbed it and refused to give it back. Now, right now, you're going to apologize to your brother." Mason stared at me, expression unreadable, complex. Samuel looked both shocked and wounded. "Bro, you just said Mason was just our family's dog. Everything he owns belongs to the master." "Shut up." I cut him off fast, shooting him a warning glance. "When did I ever say that?" Samuel pointed at Mason. "But he heard it too, didn't he?" I wanted to cry. "My poor little bro, you wouldn't believe how rough things got for you later. I'm saving our asses here. How am I supposed to fix this mess?" Then Mason said quietly, "I didn't hear anything." Mason looked at Samuel, a smirk playing on his lips. "Didn't you hear what the big man said? Hand over the apology." Samuel was furious, breathing hard, pointing right at Mason's nose. "You dare talk to me like that, you little bastard, fox spirit. This is all your fault." He grabbed the ashtray off the table and swung it straight at Mason's head. Lucky for him, the villain wasn't some pushover. He just leaned his head aside with effortless cool, and still got hit square on. Blood trickled down from his temple, cutting across his eyebrow. Mason collapsed to the ground with a fragile grace, crawling toward me and clutching my trouser leg. "Big brother, I'm hurt." I yanked Mason up and half dragged him to my room. He collapsed onto me, clinging like a dead weight, his lips brushing lightly against the back of my neck. Goosebumps erupted all over my skin. I know Mason's delicate, fragile act is all just a front. He was probably thinking, "I'll devour you piece by piece one day." No scrap left. My guess didn't take long to prove true. When I reached for the cotton swab to dab his wound, he suddenly grabbed my wrist. "All charm gone. Big bro, it's just us now, no need to pretend anymore. Come on, what are you hiding this time?" My knees went weak, a nervous laugh tugging at my lips. "Mason, I don't know what you're talking about. You're my brother. You've got nothing to worry about." Mason's face twisted into mockery. "Don't pretend you don't remember. Let me jog your memory. When I was 8, first time at the Goo house, Samuel kicked me straight into the pool. You pulled me out and told me you were my brother, that you'd take care of me. I believed you. Then that night, you got me to drink a whole pot of rat soup. When I was 14, Mom died. You told me there'd always be a brother watching out for me. Said I could stay in your room and eat with you for 3 whole days. Then on the 4th morning, you accused me of stealing your files. Dad went ballistic. On my 18th birthday, a bunch of guys ripped into me on the street, called me some kid's bastard, said I didn't deserve a birthday. You stood up for me, yelled back at them, even bought me my first real cake. And then, his fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white, face flushed red, jaw locked like he couldn't bring himself to say the rest. something vague came back to me, and this, Mason ripped his worn-out t-shirt right down the middle with a sharp asterisk tear star, revealing a sun-kissed torso, rock hard, defined muscles that made my pulse jump, but running across it, a dozen jagged scars, each one an inch long, crisscrossing like war maps. I stared, stunned. All these, you're saying they were all me? No, these are all scars I put on myself after you'd bully me. If I don't do something soon, I'm done for. I cleared my throat and struck a serious pose. Mason, buddy, your big bro was planning to keep pushing you, but I couldn't let it go any longer. If I don't clue you in now, you're gonna end up taking the wrong path. Mason frowned. What's that supposed to mean? I gave him my most sincere look. Straight up with you, I've already had it in mind for a while to hand Goo Group over to you. I can see you've got drive and the brains to back it up. But let's be real, Goo Group isn't exactly thriving. New startups are slicing into our market share. Old shareholders are eyeing their own interests. And Dad, all he does is party and coast. With all that chaos on the inside and out, I was worried you're still too young, too damn kind-hearted, to step in headfirst. I didn't want you to get crushed before you even got a chance. So instead of throwing you into the deep end, I figured, let's work on your spine and smarts through everyday life. Mason crossed his arms. So all that crap you've put me through was just an act, part of some twisted training scheme? I nodded. Exactly. Now it's time to stop pretending. No more games. Here's the truth. You've got a brother who's honest, decent, responsible, and would die for you. Mason let out a cold chuckle. You've been trained enough now. Be at the office with me tomorrow morning at 8. I muttered an apology, voice low. Won't happen again. And honestly, none of those girls even touched me. It's like they're cursed or something. Suddenly, Mason grabbed my jaw, his sharp, handsome face inches from mine, eyes cold and playful at the same time, as if whispering, you seriously think I'm an idiot? You actually expect me to buy a line this ridiculous? To be honest, even I don't believe it myself. These lies might fool a dog, but trying to sell this nonsense to someone as sharp as you, that's just not gonna fly. Fine, then it's set, 8 a.m. tomorrow. If you dare sleep in, I'm gonna knock some sense into you. Mason let go of me and turned to leave, still limping like he'd just stepped on a nail. I swear I saw it. 2 fluffy ears popping up on his head, and a tail wagging behind him like a damn puppy. He actually believed me? Mason, you're not going to go after my brother, are you? Not right now. Not unless you're telling the truth. I hesitated a second, then warned quietly, so, since you're not going to do it, maybe tuck that knife back in your pocket. Wouldn't want to cut yourself doing something stupid. His step stumbled. Then he took off like a startled deer. Guess he still doesn't trust me. But that's okay. One day, I'll make him hand it over himself, willingly. Mason barely cleared the door when Samuel burst in, followed by a breathless bodyguard. Sir, the second young master was moving too fast. I couldn't keep up. He's already done 732 handstands, and still needs 268 more. Samuel wrapped his arms around my waist, sobbing, Big brother, I'm sorry, I just can't do this anymore. I yanked him off. What did you even do wrong? I shouldn't have picked on Mason. But we've been doing it for years. I let out a long sigh. Things are different now. Mason's not some weakling to mess with anymore. He's gonna rise, and when he does, he'll come after us first. So from now on, treat him better. Got it? Samuel nodded slowly, still dazed. Good. My little brother might not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but at least he listens. I exhaled a little easier. And listen, watch your back in this house, okay? Sometimes I can't say things outright, so learn to read between the lines. I gave him a pointed look. He looked blank as ever, but nodded anyway. Yeah. I gave him a weary glance. Forget it, let's talk later. I'm beat, gotta crash. You head back. His eyes darted, then lit up suddenly. Got it, brother. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I was being crushed. I opened my eyes to find 2 young men lying right next to me. I jolted upright, voice cracking in shock. Who the hell are you guys? What are you doing in my room? Then Mason appeared at the doorway of my room. I glanced left and right. Those 2 were already gone. Not gonna happen again? No, wait. Let me explain. For some reason, looking at Mason's pained and wounded expression, I suddenly felt like I'd seen this before. My chest tightened up, my tongue felt glued in place. Couldn't say a single word. He stared at me, silent for too long, then gave a bitter half-smile. Anthony, how many times am I gonna let you pull this crap on me? Sometimes. I swear, I'm just pathetic. Mason turned and left, dropping a frayed canvas bag onto the ground. I reached in and peeked inside. Inside were a few basic finance textbooks and a deluxe breakfast pancake wrap, packed with 3 packets of spicy beef jerky. The wrapper was tied with a neat pink ribbon. Mason doesn't eat lettuce, this was definitely for me. And deep down, I knew it was something he'd made himself, which meant he must have gotten up at 6 to make this. I took a bite, slow, deliberate, and the crunch and rich flavor filled my mouth. The more I chewed, the more confused I got. According to the original story, Mason was born twisted, cunning, vindictive, never let a slight go unnoticed. But in reality, Mason had been back home for 12 years. Samuel and I made him do chores like a servant, laundry, cooking, serving tea, the whole routine, and we never missed a chance to mess with him. The worst, we once sent him to a mental hospital for 2 days. We'd hurt him more times than there were scars on his skin. My dad was too busy partying to care, and when he was in a bad mood, he'd take it out on Mason with fists or shouts. Mason had top grades, yet after just 1 year of college, no one paid his tuition anymore. He was forced to take a leave of absence, working odd jobs just to save up tuition. Yet even in that state, he never went after us with anything real. No revenge, not really. At worst, it was cold words and a few punches and kicks. And if I just teased him a little, treated him kind for once, he'd come running over like a puppy on his tail. Could someone like that really be born messed up? Was he just always rotten at the core? Or had life been too damn cruel to him? For a second, I actually felt angry on his behalf. If someone stepped in and guided him right, would everything have turned out different? Back when I first woke up yesterday, all I cared about was staying under Mason's radar, then scooping up some cash and vanishing far away. Now, I've got a wilder idea. I'm going to steer him onto the right path. Then, I'll run off with another stash of cash. Mason's gone quiet. No calls, no texts. Lucky for me, I remember the story. Mason's been pushing hard lately, working odd jobs for a loan shark just to scrape together enough tuition money to go back to school. 3 days from now, on his Diarser birthday, he'll get into it with a debtor during a collection. Gets kicked hard in the gut. The girl, Luna, Mason's college classmate, just passing by. She shows up like some kind of hero, slaps the guy right across the face and snaps, "I'm not Hey, I'm Luna. Mason's my classmate, and from now on, I've got his back." Then she took Mason's hand and pulled him away from the scene. She tried to talk Mason out of doing anything reckless, even emptied her entire savings to pay for his school fees. From that day on, she became the only light in Mason's otherwise dark life. But she never really liked him. Mason ended up going full villain because he couldn't have her. "Sweetheart, if you don't want this villain, don't blame me for swooping in. I'd already arranged it." Someone was supposed to hold Luna back on the day of the incident. 3 days later, early in the morning, I pulled off my fledgling takeoff setup and strapped on my foot-powered scooter. Then I headed to that secluded alleyway. I hid in a shadowed corner and saw Mason being shoved around by 5 or 6 older guys. Finally, the leader kicked him hard in the ribs. I jumped out instantly, blocking Mason's path, then landed a solid punch on the guy. Glancing over at Mason, I asked, "Mason, you okay?" Mason froze for a second, voice hoarse. "I'm fine." The burly man clutching his face glared at me, voice raw with fury. "Who the hell do you think you are? You want to die?" I squared my shoulders, planted my foot hard on the ground. "I'm not Hey. I'm Anthony. Mason's my brother, and from now on, I've got his back." For some reason, he didn't look like those novels described, like he was about to worship me. Instead, surprise twisted into rage. I frowned, grabbing Mason's wrist, ready to bolt. Then the guy suddenly trembled, lifting a shaking finger at me. "Brothers, it's him, the goo group, that's who screwed us over on the construction payments. That's why we're in this mess. Had to take out loan sharks. Now beat the hell out of these two. Knock 'em down hard. Of all the damn places to run into them, this has got to be the worst. No doubt it was my old man behind this mess again." No time to react. 6 beefy guys charged at us in unison. Mason and I went into overdrive, kicking one off. Then another came rushing in, one after the other. We kept them coming. These guys were all roughnecks who'd spent years hauling bricks and steel. Big in number and mean in spirit. Mason and I couldn't hold them off for long. Mason took one swing for me, then leaned close. "I've got this. You get out, go find help." I hesitated just a heartbeat. Mason had that classic villain aura, so he'd probably make it to the final chapter alive. Nodded once, then took off like a sprinter. Then my foot caught on some tiny pebble. Slipped right out from under me. Crack! My back went out cold. I crashed straight into Mason, face first. Of all the damn times. Right behind me a big guy walks out of the room with a knife and stabs straight at Mason. Time stopped. My world exploded into color. I yelped. Ah! My ass felt like it had burst open, blood gushing out in a steady stream. "Bro!" Mason kicked the knife from the guy's hand. One arm locked around me, the other pressed hard against my backside, voice shaking. "Bro, you okay? Don't panic. I got you, just hang on. I'm taking you straight to the hospital. You'll be fine. Bro, you okay? It's gonna be fine. I'm getting you to the hospital right now. Nothing's going to happen, I swear." "Yo, what the hell were you doing with that knife? Blood. He's bleeding, run now." The laborers vanished like ghosts. Mason called 120, hoisted me up in a fireman's carry. But face down, of course, I'm calling it. The dwarf lift, losing blood fast, my head spun, eyelids heavy. With every last ounce of strength, I clutched Mason's belt, hoping to score some emotional points before passing out. "Mason, please, forgive me, bro. When I'm gone, you gotta take care of yourself. I don't want to see you get hurt. I left a will, my money, my shares, all yours. Go back to school. Be honest. Kind. Do something that actually matters." Damn. He panicked. "Bro, don't die on me. I've never been mad at you, I passed out cold." In my haze, I could barely hear Mason talking to a girl. "Mason, how did you even get there?" "Girl, I don't know. I was at a lecture, then suddenly I just stood up and ran like hell straight into that alley. I'd been out for nearly 2 days. When I came to, it was late afternoon. Mason was slumped over the bed, holding my hand, fast asleep. His hair was a mess, his fine lashes glowing golden in the warm sunlight. Soft, fuzzy, almost like a little wild dog curled up beside its owner. He looked so quiet, so loyal, just guarding me like he'd never let go. I twitched my fingers right away. He snapped awake. "Bro, you're finally awake." His dark eyes lit up. Then his eyelids flickered, and suddenly, his face crumpled. He lunged forward, wrapped his arms around my waist, and buried his face right into my stomach. I froze for a second, then reached out to ruffle the soft fuzz on top of his head. "I'm fine." The moment I spoke, my voice came out so hoarse I nearly jumped myself. Mason scrambled up and rushed to get me water. Held it like a sacred offering. "Bro, all this time, it was my fault. I never thought you'd actually risk your life for me." Mason's face twisted with guilt again, his voice barely above a whisper. "About those 2 boys before, I shouldn't have blamed you. I've thought about it, and if a man's wife's cheating on him, it's not her fault. It's his own failure." "Wife? No, bro." I let out a long sigh. "Mason, that day was a misunderstanding. I didn't cheat on you. Even if I've lied to you 100 times before, I'm not ever gonna do it again. I really want to build something real with you. You trust me?" He nodded seriously. "From now on, just say the word and my life's yours." 3 days later, I was discharged. The doctor said the knife wound just needed daily dressing changes, but the back injury required physical therapy before applying ointment. First time on the machine, Mason winced. The doc said it might sting a bit at first, just hang in there, bro. Honestly, it wasn't that bad, but I played up the pain to guilt trip him, writhing like a fish on a hook, screaming at the top of my lungs. "Mason, it hurt so bad." Kept it up for 15 minutes straight. By the end, my throat was shredded. Warm ointment dripped down my pale, slender waist. Mason rubbed gently, his voice rough and low. "Hey, it's over, man." I smirked inside. Judging by his tone, he's actually nervous, worried, even, and took the trouble to warm up the ointment just for me. Sure enough, from that day on, Mason doted on me even more. He'd follow me like a big wolf who'd willingly laid down his fangs and sworn loyalty to its alpha bitch. tail wagging nonstop, fussing over every little thing. Okay, maybe that metaphor's a bit off, but damn if he didn't radiate husband vibes. Wash my clothes, cook whatever I like every single meal. A week later, I was finally able to sit up on my own. First thing I did, used my own money to pay off the construction workers' wages that my dad owed, then dug back into company records and ran a full audit. Good thing he only did it once. I used to think he was just lazy, chasing comfort, but turns out he'd actually go off the rails for something like this. That night, I called a lawyer and filed charges. Gotta put him in jail long enough to learn his lesson. Next move? Reached out to the boss of Lou Group and arranged for Samuel to become personal secretary to his son. The day they took Samuel away, he grabbed my hands like a drowning man, sobbing, "Brother, I'm sorry. I'll learn how to read your mind from now on. Please don't send me there. That Lou David guy's always got that weird bangs thing going. Looks creepy as hell." I'm scared stiff. Sitting in my wheelchair, I let 2 crocodile tears slide down my cheeks and said, "Dude, a brooding emo ghost boy. That's actually trending right now. You'll fit right in." Truth is, I thought long and hard before this. Samuel's got no guile. He'd be dangerous if he ever crossed paths with Mason again. And Lou David? Not a bad guy, just looks like he's been carved out of shadows, that's all. Keeping Samuel around might just tame him a bit. The bodyguard shut the car door, bowed politely, and handed me a folder. "Samuel, Andrew would like to invite you to company develop our company's humanoid project. Take a look at this, it's just preliminary info. If it interests you, Andrew can meet with you later to go over the details." Humanoids. Now that's intriguing. With all the stress young people are under these days, imagine a model that could do laundry, cook dinner, walk the dog, babysit, then still be tall, handsome, and built like a damn tank. That'd be big. I nodded. "Tell Andrew thanks. I'll set something up for next week." The guard gave a curt nod, then drove off without another word. Mason strolled over from the distance, took my hand in his, and grinned like he'd just won some secret prize. "Big bro, now it's just you and me at home. Feels a little special, doesn't it?" I twitched my lips. How could it not be? I got Mason back into school, even got him involved in some company projects. Under my steady stream of lectures, 9 out of 10 serious, 1 just plain weird, he improved fast. I was seriously proud. That much closer to the day I finally disappear with all the money. 6 months flew by in a blink. Mason's been acting off lately. In novels, villains usually have a strong animalistic side. Since I messed with the script, he never fell for the heroine, so all that pent-up tension, yeah, it was bound to explode. So first thing next morning, I told Grayson to pull together a list of eligible girls in our circle. Grayson didn't waste time. By afternoon, he handed me the file, but as I flipped through those perfect faces, something about it felt off. The Mason now wasn't like the one in the book. He was sunshine personified. Sweet, calm, level-headed, nothing like his original self. If he ever found someone who made him happy, he'd probably be really good at it. Before I knew it, I was standing outside Mason's office door, just about to push the door open when I heard Mason's voice inside. "This rose is for you. You're as beautiful as a flower." A girl giggled. "Thanks. Seriously, thank you so much. Mason, you're such a sweetie." The voice rang a familiar bell. I ducked around the corner before the door could swing open, watching her skip down the stairs with a spring in her step. When I caught sight of her face from above, my stomach dropped. It was Luna. How the hell did they even meet? Later that evening, Mason and I walked hand in hand to the grocery store. I was lost in thought. He seemed preoccupied too. On our way back, a sudden downpour caught us off guard. Before I even registered what happened, Mason had stripped off his jacket and pulled it over my head like a blanket, then scooped me up and sprinted through the rain. He didn't stop until we reached a nearby pavilion. Then he peeled off my soaked outer layer, breathing hard, scanning me from head to toe. "You okay? Didn't get wet, did you?" Watching the water drip from his hairline, I felt a strange knot tighten in my chest. I pulled out a tissue and started wiping his face. "You think I look like I'm soaked? You're the one drenched. Look at you, all soggy. I'm a grown man with long legs. I could have run myself. A little rain wouldn't kill me. Next time, watch your own back." okay? My fingers trailed along his smooth forehead, the sharp ridge of his nose, the defined jawline, that tempting dip at his throat. Suddenly, my mouth went dry. I barely had time to pull back when Mason caught my wrist. What if I said I wanted to shelter you from the storm? For life. What? His eyes wide, bright, like a dog's, locked onto mine, full of quiet fire. I was gonna wait till your birthday to say this, but Grayson said you're actually looking for a girlfriend, so if I don't grab the moment now, I'll be eating cold leftovers. Look, I'm not saying you're trash or that I'm some dog. What I mean is, brother, I like you. I want to protect you, stay by your side forever. No more being just someone else's anchor. Let me be yours instead. I want to shield you from the storm, spend my life with you, build a home with you. Brother, do you want that? My eyes shot wide open, like someone had just zapped me with lightning. Mason said, he likes me. Is this really what I think it means? I could hear my own heart hammering in my chest. I was flustered, stammering. Mason, come on, two guys, blood brothers, we're close, sure, but that's just brotherly love. I think it's just the weather warming up. You've been glued to me nonstop lately, you're mixing up feelings. Family bond ain't love like this. You're young, full of fire, I get it. That's why I've been digging through girls' profiles, it was all for your sake. Set you up on dates. If you've got someone in mind, that's cool too. But listen, romance needs respect. We're decent people. No pressure, no games. Before I could finish, Mason suddenly shoved me against the wall, eyes glistening with hurt. Brotherhood. I can't stop thinking about kissing you, about holding you close. We're not even blood brothers. Didn't you know that already, big brother? Mason, I'm in love with you. I don't want anyone else. I'll only ever love you. This whole life long. Mason's gaze was so intense, so fierce it felt like fire. I couldn't meet his eyes. Nowhere to run. In the end, I broke free and ran. Mason called me nonstop after that. When I didn't answer, he started texting. First just a raw confession, I've loved you for so long. Then it turned into these long, rambling essays, reminiscing about every little moment between us since he was 8. After that, it was pure pleading. Bro, are you seriously not even a bit into me? If that's really how it is, I'll just be your little brother. Can't you just stop ignoring me? I don't have a home without you. My fingers tightened around the wine glass, a sharp pang stabbing my chest. Actually, Mason was wrong. I didn't run because I didn't like him. On the contrary, when he said he wanted to be my anchor, my heart started racing uncontrollably. That moment, I knew I'd already fallen for him. When I was 12, my parents split, and Mom took all 10 of her favorite bodyguards, along with the fattest twin-tailed taxidermy specimen from the house. Not once did she think to take me or Samuel. I turned 18, took over the company. After that, my dad only cared about parties and chaos. I saw him maybe twice a year. Samuel leaned on me, trusted me. I got used to handling everything for him. But he was simple-minded. When problems came up, he couldn't help much. Safe place, like that, to me, felt like a luxury I could barely resist. And over the past 6 months, Mason proved again and again he could give it to me. And he really wanted to. Just like he said, I kinda want a home with him. But can the villain really end up with the side character? For some reason, I've been haunted by the fear of the original storyline all along. And Luna's sudden appearance only made that dread worse. I'm not even worried about Mason cheating on me with 2 women. If he chose me to confess to, then I'll believe he's only ever wanted me now. But what if? Why did I keep trying to change things, yet he still ended up tangled with Luna? Is the script just destined to reset no matter how hard I fight? Are all my efforts really just pointless? I locked myself in my mom's seaside villa for 3 days straight. Wake up drunk, pass out drunk, repeat. That morning, when I finally opened the door, 10 of Mason's androids stood in perfect formation at the door, dressed in suits, school uniforms, even bunny girl outfits. The second they saw me, they snapped to attention and barked in unison. Morning, boss. Forgot what happened yesterday when I was out of it. Grayson must have stopped by. Said the Lou group had finished their first batch of androids and wanted me to check them out, get a feel for the product. Back then, when David asked what kind of prototype I'd want, I didn't know why. I just blurted out Mason's full profile. And somehow, they turned out kinda damn close. I sigh. Seriously, Why'd Lou David send 10 of these guys over at once? At the dinner table, I stared at the feast spread out before me, completely speechless. Do we really need a whole plate of Mason every single time? For starters, it's just plain wasteful. I eat one portion, wave my hand, no more. I tell them to just make one tomorrow. Suddenly, 10 of Masons stepped forward, closing in around me in a tight circle, then dropped to one knee at once, all shouting in unison, "Bro, please eat. Just say the word. We'll give you our lives." I burst out laughing, spitting soy milk all over the table. Panicked, I fumble for my phone and dial Lou David. Didn't expect it to be Samuel on the line. "Hey man, what's up?" Hear his voice, and I dropped the act completely right into full roast mode. Ask Lou David, what's the point of bringing 10 Masons over? Does he really think I've got that kind of need? And what was that giving you my lifeline? Trying to kill me with drama? Tell him to scrap it and redo it right now. Samuel, dude, Grayson said you'd like it. He let out a low chuckle, just a hint of something knowing in it. What the hell are you laughing at? He said he'd send someone right away to collect the 10 Masons. The upgraded version's already on its way, and they'll be here by tonight. The villa finally quieted down. I swirled my red wine, stretched out on the lounge chair, sipping slowly, letting the sea breeze roll over me. Before I knew it, I was half asleep. When I came to, my head still foggy. Squinting through the haze, I saw a new Mason kneeling halfway in front of the lounge chair, just watching me. The warm golden light glinted off his face, softening his features into something almost dreamlike. I leaned in to get a better look, but he caught my head instead, firmly, gently, and pressed a light kiss to my lips, then two, then three, leading me into a slow, deep, tender kiss. This android feels so real. I couldn't help but whisper, "Mason, I like you." The synthetic wild's muscles locked up instantly. I can't tell the real me, but talking to a synthetic person, that's gotta be fine, right? Mason, we're all just paper people in some story, right? Once I started, everything I'd buried came rushing out. When I got to the part about him getting flowers from Luna, my eyes burned, and suddenly, drunk on emotion, I just broke down crying. Why do you still keep going back to her? I've been trying so hard to rewrite the script. I really want a real life with you. But what if you fall for her again? My words were cut off. Synthetic Wild's kiss was fierce, hot, and unrelenting. He finally let go just as I was about to choke, breathing hard and wiping the tear from my lips with his thumb. "So this is your reason for pushing me away? Dude, if I hadn't shown up, would that count as cheating on you? Damn kid, looks like a real one." Huh? Mason told me he gave Luna roses because she'd asked him to help finish a mission. The day I got hurt, Luna still ended up at the scene, despite everything. But once she realized how messed up this world was, she started waking up. She'd had enough of being a clueless, sugary sweet love interest and just wanted to focus on building her life. Then came a system, telling her she couldn't gain freedom unless she completed the main storyline. One of those plot lines. Getting Mason to fall for her. The system said it wanted to clock out early, so Mason just had to drop off a rose for Luna and throw in a line. Something along those lines was fine. As for the whole locked up part later, Mason could outsource that like any other job. He pulled me close, kissed my palm, his eyes steady and full of devotion. "Bro, believe me, I don't care about some dumb script. I'm gonna love you for real, forever. So, stay with me, okay?" My eyes burned. Okay. That afternoon, something weird happened again. Mason and I were racing in the pool. When he dove underwater, I suddenly couldn't stop myself. I slammed my foot down on his shoulder and pinned his head underwater. The harder he struggled, the more I pressed down. My mind felt trapped inside a glass dome. Inside, I was screaming and fighting. No. This isn't me. I didn't want to do this. But why? Why couldn't I control myself? I focused every ounce of willpower, inch by inch dragging my limbs off Mason. The instant he broke the surface and gasped for air, all my muscles went slack, and I passed out cold. I had a long dream, that summer when I was 16, the first time I saw 8-year-old Mason, tiny and thin as a twig, skin pale but with this sharp little face, dark eyes wide like a puppy's staring right at me. His mom gave him a sharp pinch. "Say hello." Mason piped up in that high, soft voice, "Big brother." I glanced at the bruises under his sleeves and shorts. My brows knitted. For the first time, Two little voices started arguing inside my head. One said, "This kid's like me and Samuel, another victim." The other shot back, "Pity? He's the third boy's son, born with filthy blood. Might as well break him good." When Mason got kicked into the pool by Samuel, the first voice finally won. I pulled Mason out of the pool and told him I was his real brother, that I'd take care of him, and no one would ever mess with him again. He kissed my cheek and whispered, "Brother, you're the most beautiful, kindest person I've ever seen. I love you." Then he handed me all his savings, bought me a full jeju pancake with 3 extra packs of spicy strips. He said it was the best food in the whole world. But that night, the first little voice in my head vanished. I felt like a phone that had just been wiped clean. My mind reduced to one thought: how to hurt Mason. So that night, I followed the script and made him drink a whole pot of mouse soup. Mason was 14 when his mom passed away. He sat alone in the funeral home, biting down on his lip, silent as stone, tears falling fast and hard. Maybe it was because he could feel Mason's loneliness and pain. That day, after 6 years of sleep, I broke free again. I walked up to him and knelt down, pulling him into a tight hug. Mason's long-held tears finally broke through, spilling down and soaking into my neck. "Brother, sometimes I hate her, but she was all I had. Now, I've got nothing." I gently rubbed the back of his head. "Mason, don't be scared. From now on, I'm here with you. You won't be alone." Too bad this time, I only woke up for 3 days. Later, on Mason's 18th birthday, I came back, but this time, for 7 whole days. Truth is, every time I wake up, I remember everything I've done before, but it's like something's locked inside me. I never question why I did what I did. I opened my eyes to the dead of night. Mason was asleep again, just like before, clutching my hand as he lay on the bed. I stood up without expression and walked to the kitchen for a sharp fruit knife. If I'm destined to hurt Mason, maybe it's better if I end myself first. But suddenly, my limbs wouldn't obey me. I moved slowly behind Mason, then plunged the knife straight through his chest. One slash after another, blood spraying everywhere. No, this isn't what I wanted. Mason, run. Get away. Bro, wake up. Don't scare me. I jolted awake from the dream, gasping like I couldn't catch my breath. Mason pulled me into his arms, and I threw myself against him, holding on tight. Mason didn't say a word, but I felt his body trembling slightly. "Bro, are you leaving me again?" Mason had already figured it out. This wasn't my first awakening, and he knew I'd be erased each time. I told Mason to lock me away until my next awakening, but he refused. So I told him to clear out every dangerous thing in the house instead. Mason just hung his head the whole time, shoulders drooping like a soaked puppy. I ruffled his hair and said, "Cheer up. Think about it. My awakenings are getting closer together now, and each one lasts longer than before. Maybe someday, I'll stay for good." He looked up at me, quiet and still, as if trying to pin me right there in that moment with his eyes. The number of times I lose myself is growing more frequent. Yet we never did anything special for this inevitable goodbye. The best way to cherish time is just being with someone you love. Doesn't matter what we do, as long as we're together. That night on my birthday, Mason and I climbed up to the nearby hilltop. He sang me a birthday song, and I made a wish with real devotion before blowing out the candles. We lay side by side, watching the stars while munching on pancake-shaped crepes. Frogs croaked and insects chirped all around. The Milky Way drifted silently overhead, a feeling so peaceful it left me speechless. I couldn't help wondering how many years it'd be before I'd get to feel this kind of magic again. I whispered, "After I'm gone, you've got to watch out. Don't believe a single fake move I make. I'm really good at tricks. And if I never come back, you still gotta live well." Mason suddenly dropped the teasing act, cupping my face with both hands, his gaze locked on mine like a beam of light. "No ifs, man. Tell me, promise you're coming back, right?" I froze for a second, then wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him softly. "Yeah, I'll come back. My awakening began because of you. Even if I fall asleep 1,000,000 times over, I'd wake up 1,000,000 times again, to love you. I'm the villain's cruel stepbrother in this damn novel." When I woke up, I was already stomping on Mason with my wet feet, grinding down hard. I gave his tear-streaked face a light slap. "What's the point of pretending? You're probably thrilled inside, aren't you? Mason froze, eyes wide. Those glossy black puppy dog eyes flooding with something warm and soft. Hey, you're back.